What's the benefits of tuning your ejector on your PCC?
Hey there guys and gals, Robert Jones coming to you from Team Speed Kings with a tech tip on your PCC. This is something that's come across my bench a couple times. I've seen it out in the field, and it's failure to eject. So failure to eject on a PCC is actually really simple to address, and hopefully with this video we can help keep you running so you don't have to address it while you're on the clock, which none of us want to do. So what does ejection on a PCC look like? So on a PCC, your ejector sits on the lower. And what that means is there are several things that you want to pay attention to, especially as you're putting more wear and tear on the gun, you're running it quite a bit. So you got a couple different nuances, and the first one is obviously the slot between the upper and the lower. That's going to open up your tolerances. And then as your bolt is traveling in the bore of the upper, it's going to create tolerance issues. And then on the gas key here, so as you wear, it allows the bolt to rotate more. And so now you've opened up some tolerances there. So there's quite a few ways that this thing can keep from ejecting properly. And I want to go over some potential ways to help you avoid that. The first thing to look at is your ejector angle relative to your bolt face. So now, guys and gals, before you do anything here, you're going to want to make sure that you have a spare ejector. And actually, a word on the ejectors. It seems that there's no two ejectors that are the same between the manufacturers. This is a Titan Gen 1. This ejector's pretty large, it's pretty pronounced. It's not real hard material. It bends, it conforms fairly easy. Yours may not. So you want to talk to your manufacturer relative to what you have. If you've got a really skinny extractor or ejector rather, then that could be an issue for you in terms of tweaking it. You don't want to bend it and break it. So make sure you have a spare one. All right, that said, your relationship that you want to look for here is this ejector needs to sit on the inside of this bolt face when you're looking at it. You're going to want to check this in your upper and pull it back just far enough so you can see this inside the ejection port and make sure that it's sitting as best to that inside edge as possible. If it's not, then that could allude to either if you're having an issue with ejection or down the road you could get into it. The other one that you're gonna notice is this inside edge on the ejector starts to get hammered. So obviously every time this case comes back, it slams into this thing to kick it out of the gun. So making sure that these edges are nice and sharp is going to be really paramount. With that, when you adjust this, and you can see this here with mine, it's got a pretty good angle to it. When you adjust this, you're going to want to make sure you adjust it so it's just inside that bolt face, just enough, as we mentioned. So there's just sitting inside there, just enough to get in there, to get that case out, but not bind the bolt up. If you're binding the bolt up, if you've got this thing kicked over way hard, and it's binding the bolt up, that's going to create other issues for you that you don't need. So again, keep this just to the inside, keep that edge nice and sharp, and that's going to help you quite a bit. The other thing to talk about is this angle. So as you guys can see, we talked about this already, which is relative to coming into the breech face to get the case out. This angle right here makes all the difference in terms of the angle that the case comes out at. So if you guys have ever tuned a 1911, then you'll be familiar with this. If you haven't, then this is a new discussion. Whatever your angle is on your ejector, I would maintain it. If it came from the factory nice and flat, I would maintain that nice and flat. Mine has a cant this way to it. It works really good for mine. I run a Gibbs upper with a small ejection port, and it clears the port just fine. If you start changing this angle, that may create other issues for you that you otherwise don't need. This is a tuning tip to get you, to run 0 down on the clock and on a good time. So we want to keep it simple. With that, don't change that angle if you don't have to. If you do, take the gun out, test it, make sure that the gun runs flawlessly every time. To that, make sure that these, as I mentioned before, that case comes back and hammers on this ejector face, and it hammers on it pretty hard. So you're going to want to make sure that these edges are nice and sharp. Not sharp enough to cut you, but sharp enough where as that case comes back, it gets a good purchase on there and kicks that case out. If these edges are all rounded off and all gnarly looking, it's going to be pretty hard for this thing to maintain its shape every time it's coming back. If it's rounded off, it may get into a case where it wants to flex off and end up bending itself out of the way, and now you have a failure to feed again. So nice sharp edges, good angle, good contact with the inside of that breech face, and you should be good.